As rescue efforts continue in Ukraine, Norwegian scientists say they have seismic evidence of a clear explosion on the morning the Novokakhovka Dam burst.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says his country will deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus's territory next month.
Tens of thousands of people rallied in Belgrade in the 6th mass demonstration against violence since 2 mass shootings shocked Serbia. Pet rescue teams have been using boats to reach stranded dogs and cats as Ukraine reveals almost 2,500 people have been rescued on its side of the Dnipro River. Kyiv says 4 people are known to have died and 13 are missing. As the humanitarian effort continues, more evidence is emerging about what caused the tragedy. Norsar, a Norwegian seismic monitoring centre, says it saw a clear explosion at 2:54 local time on the morning the Novokakhovka Dam burst. Ukraine's also released an audio recording in which it says a Russian soldier says occupying forces caused the blast. Kremlin officials insist Ukraine bombarded the dam. Moscow says 8 people have died in areas it occupies, although volunteers speak of dozens. It's expected more victims will be found as the waters recede. Further afield, a drone hit a residential building in the Russian town of Voronezh, some 300 kilometers from the border on Friday. 3 people were injured.
After a meeting with Belarus's president, Vladimir Putin has said Russia will deploy tactical nuclear weapons in his allies' territory next month. The Russian leader added that work on building facilities for the missiles will be completed in the coming weeks and that the arms would arrive soon after. Short-range tactical nuclear weapons have a limited yield and are intended for use against troops in the battlefield. Russia used Belarus to launch part of its full-scale invasion last year, and the 2 armies have since escalated their cooperation. The move comes as Ukraine steps up its counteroffensive against Russian forces.
Impossible to escape COVID-19 rule breaches, former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has resigned his seat as an MP in the House of Commons. Johnson made the decision after being sanctioned for misleading Parliament in his statements about the Partygate scandal. The series of parties hosted at 10 Downing Street while pandemic restrictions for the entire country were still in place, forbidding social gatherings to combat the virus. The move will trigger a by-election in Johnson's constituency in Greater London.
Marching against violence and against Alexander Vucic's populism, tens of thousands of people have demonstrated in Belgrade to demand the resignation of top government officials and the revocation of licenses for 2 pro-government television stations. Similar demonstrations have shaken the country in the wake of 2 mass shootings that caused widespread uproar. The Serbian president promised early elections to calm tempers, although he does not seem to have succeeded.
This is the 6th protest Serbia against the violence. The demands are the same like the last time. First of all, resignation of the Minister of the Police, also resignation of the Director of the National Security Information Agency. They also want to close, first of all, TV stations that are promoting violence. Tens of thousands of people are in front of Serbian parliament, and many people are still coming in this place.
Canada is no stranger to wildfires, but experts are blaming climate change for the scale of the problem facing the east of the country this year. So far this year, 3.8 million hectares of forest and vegetation have burned, almost 15 times the average for the last few decades. Smoke and haze from the fires drifted south into the northeastern United States and also across the Atlantic to Norway. There's been disruption to air travel and 100 million Americans were put on an air pollution alert. On Friday, the air quality began to improve in New York City and Washington, D.C.